With Andor quickly approaching, the Star Wars fan base is still more divided than ever. Some people were really left with a bad taste in their mouth from the Book of Boba Fett, and other people still pledged that Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be the last straw for them, and if it didn't land, they were done forever. It's very sad for those people. I personally really liked both of those shows, Obi-Wan Kenobi more than Book of Boba Fett, but Andor is the one that I've been saying for a long time that I am hyped for. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Andor, but we're going to get into some great discussion tonight. So everyone, grab your darkest brew and let's get into it. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate all of you guys for being here tonight. I hope you guys are excited for Andor as I am. But first, I wanted to get to the comment of the week, and that is from Brandon, the anime guy. He says, Disney Star Wars is not Star Wars. I hope this is good, but I do not hold out anything for it. I completely understand, completely agree, and I'm happy that you're willing to give it a shot, that you're willing to watch this show, and you're hoping that it turns out well. I hope you enjoy it, whether or not it's going to bring you back to the light side, so to speak, of the enjoyment of Star Wars. I don't know. I can't speak to that. But other people that are very positive, I'm going to bring in my two guests tonight. We've got Mr. Charlie Thomas and the one and only Strike. How are you gentlemen doing tonight?
Amazing, man.
Doing
awesome.
Great. Thanks for having us on.
Oh, you're very welcome. So starting with you, Charlie, how are you feeling about Andor going into it?
Well, I mean, after we got like a trailer for it for the first time, we seen like a little hint of a teaser trailer. Looks great, man. Bail Organa's going to be in it. Mon Mothma's going to be in it. Just seeing the Senate Rotunda, last time we seen that, a pretty big event happened there. Everything kind of got wrecked. So
yeah, it is very nice. It's definitely very nice seeing the Senate building. And I don't know if the Empire logo in the center of the room was there in the original, but I know it was there in the trailer. So maybe that was like a slight alteration they did to that room after the Empire took power. I don't know, but it's a really cool detail nonetheless. Strike, how are you feeling at this point going into Andor?
At this point, I am feeling very hopeful. The first trailer was quite nice, had a lot of stuff, but I mean, it was a teaser, so it was like kind of still like, I don't know, like it had some nice shots, but you were still like not quite sure what to expect. The second trailer, on the other hand, I must say, very much won me over again. Like a lot of the shots looked really nice. Definitely Rogue One vibes. I mean, hey, no surprises with the people working on the show. And I mean, on top of it, I'm one of those like prequel lovers that like you see those Phase 2 troopers, just a little snippet, and I'm already like, all right, I'm definitely watching it at this point.
Yeah, the trailers got me more. I was already hyped for this because based off what little bits and pieces of behind the scenes we've gathered thus far, up to the point of getting the trailers, I knew it was going to be more of a spy thriller and less of a Star Wars show. And I've been saying for a while, I want shows and movies that aren't necessarily about the main core parts of Star Wars that we know so far, like the Jedi and the Sith and the lightsabers and the Force, but they can be really awesome shows and movies and storylines and characters set in the Star Wars universe. And I think we're kind of going to get that with this show, but with some really important tie-ins as to the formation of the rebellion. And that's one of my later points, one of the top 5 things we're going to get into that I need this show to deliver on. That's one of them. We're going to talk about that a little later. Let's say hello to the chat. Charlie, there you are. I'll give you a sip. Here's a sip for you.
Thank you, man.
Strike, here's a sip for you as well.
How'd that happen?
Definitely hyped. Israel Garcia, my dude, here's a sip for you. Jake76, good to see you. Here's a sip for you. Dat Boy Steve, here's a sip for you.
Hey.
And Cobra Disney Jedi, here is a sip for you.
What's up? I know we've mentioned this so much, but like, I mean, I don't know what we're gonna do once you hit like those big numbers. All right.
I don't know.
27 joined.
I really don't know. And kind of my overall goal for this channel, I want it to be a weekly live stream, but with a very high production value. I want it to be an actual show that people watch with returning segments, one of which we're going to play later tonight, but with games and challenges and pieces of news and just returning segments to where it's an actual production, to where I'm the main host and I have regular guests like Matt Cave, Paul of Fandomology. That still sounds weird to say Fandomology and not the Star Wars guys, but they're doing great things over there. What was that?
Well, did they change the name?
Yes, they are no longer the Star Wars guys. They are Fandomology.
Okay.
Which is a really cool name, and that kind of frees them up to talk about more stuff than just Star Wars, because I know Paul's getting really into his movie reviews and Star Trek.
Gotcha.
And you can't call yourself the Star Wars guys.
Yeah,
it's kind of limiting, which is why I chose the name for my channel, Coffee on Korriban, because I mean it is Star Wars, but it's not like the Star Wars philosopher, which was a name that I was bouncing around, and I'm glad I didn't go with. But anyway, one thing I wanted to get into real quick, you said in your comment earlier, hype. I'm probably more hyped than a lot of other people. But is this a blind hype that we have going into the show? Are we just ignoring the steep down cliff, and are we just throwing ourselves headlong into it?
I can tell you why I am hyped. First of all, because a lot of the people that are working on the show, or the main people that are working on the show, worked on Rogue One, which is hands down the best Star Wars movie that Disney has put out.
Yes,
by far. And the thing about Rogue One, when there were interviews about how they approached the making of that movie, was it is a war story. Like the basis of the movie is a war story, and now they're saying the basis of this series is it's a spy thriller. So I'm like, they're using that same approach. Like now it's a spy thriller instead of a war story, and I'm honestly like the trailer, like also the fact that they are like, yeah, I know like all of them have like used the stage, but yeah, we're just not gonna do it. We're
just gonna actually do it this time.
Exactly, and
I think that's a really nice choice.
Look great and like large scale.
Right.
So I think that's the main reason why I'm excited for this show, even more than looking back on it for maybe even Kenobi and definitely Boba.
And there is something to be said about the volume that really sets you in that universe, in that environment, that practical effects like the shot from the trailer of them running on the dam. Like you can tell it's an actual physical place, which sort of takes you out of it, but it does call back to the original trilogy where most of it was practical effects, especially even it was before CGI, so they didn't even have CGI planes and stuff. I'm sorry to disappoint, but I don't think there's going to be Pong Crowd.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a bummer. Yeah,
well, we know that's number one on her list of top fives.
Yeah,
we know.
Right. I don't know, Charlie. What do you think about not using the volume for this?
Oh man, it's crazy because like you said, man, like the trailer or teaser trailer, you were just like, I mean, much like the Strike said, like Rogue One was an amazing movie, amazing Star Wars film. So getting that type of feel and everything like that, and seeing that, and just whether it be Diego Luna, doing his thing, awesome, and then Saw Gerrera, and just seeing it, and they're like practical explosions. Who knows these things? Like, I'm hyped for it, man. I love it. Nothing but good things, man.
Definitely. And Israel says, for me, it puts it into a real location. It puts me into it. A real location feels more real. I personally prefer it. Yeah. And like I said, the lighting is incredible. It feels expensive as far as like what they had to do to film it, even though I know practical effects and locations are more expensive. But just the lighting is so good with the volume but you don't get as expansive of a feel.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't really know, you can't tell if it's CGI or practical, and kind of that guessing doesn't really sit well all the time.
Yeah. I feel like so I feel like the volume in itself is great creation, and for like specific stuff it is like way better than green screen. I think what they're kind of sort of heading in the wrong direction for, I think, is that they're like, oh, we got to do everything with the volume.
Yes.
Instead of like choosing to combine now all of the different movie techniques into one project, like have some stuff like be on green screen, some stuff on location, some stuff in the volume. And obviously, I mean,
Yep.
can't always do that, but I feel like combining all of those would be smarter.
And here's a way to put it that I just thought about. It almost seems like the volume is this generation's CGI. When CGI came out, everyone was using it and overusing it, and very few people nailed it for the time. I'm thinking Terminator 2 with the metallic effect, Jurassic Park. Very few of them nailed it, but then looking back, you can see a few. I think The Mummy had the Scorpion King or something, and it just didn't land. So I think the volume is kind of like that. Like if you rush and do everything in the volume, it might not come off as good as if you, like you were saying, Strike, just kind of interwove it with other techniques. But we're going to get into the top 5 things that I need out of this show.
Awesome.
Starting off with number 5, Andor needs to be a compelling character. And I know for me, it's not directly about the characters, and Andor is relatively unknown compared to a lot of other Star Wars characters. But you know the complaints are going to roll in if he's not a great character of, oh, why is this his show? Why didn't they give Anakin a show? Why didn't they give so-and-so a show? So I think
entire saga is Anakin's show.
Yeah. I think for the sake of the general audience, Andor, it's his name. The series is named after him. Andor needs to be a well-written, compelling character with a great story arc that leads into where we see him in Rogue One. I really hope he's not a stale character and his personality is the same the entire way through. I want to see growth, and I want to see us being able to relate to him. Charlie, what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, Strike told me a while back about this as well. This goes on to this. Yeah, it would be amazing. Well, I never knew Kilder, brother. I never knew that Cassian was originally from the CIS, like grew up in that time of thing. I was like, wait, what? So, yeah, seeing him going from, maybe standard soldier and everything like that to where he goes to Rogue One when we first see him, when he shoots the guy in the, back and everything, what could have caused, something like that. Did he hang around Saw Gerrera too much? We know he's a little bit of extremist, how they word stuff like that. But yeah, I'm all for it, man.
And this kind of taps into what I was saying earlier. Andor equals the birth of the rebellion. The show isn't just about Andor, and I think a lot of people, when they announced the show, 2 years ago now, were caught off guard. Why are we getting an Andor show? He wasn't that great of a character. And I was thinking like, no, you don't know what this could represent. There's a massive gap in the timeline of how the rebellion was formed. And aside from comics and books and stuff, like, we don't know what happened. And especially, as you just pointed out, someone coming from the CIS, from that side of the story and not from the side of the Fallen Republic, is going to be really interesting. And I'm really excited for that. Strike, what do you think about Andor as the character of Andor?
Yeah, I mean, in Rogue One, we kind of started out with knowing him as a just like by the books, follows orders soldier. He would assassinate someone if he got the order to. And then like sort of later on in the story, because of Jin and the other characters, he sort of like kind of gets back his humanity in a sense, or his, like, I don't know, like his own thinking is coming back. And I feel like in Andor, it needs to be the opposite around. It needs to be from like being a kid or like a teenager during the Separatist era, seeing then like the rise of the Empire, clone legions taking over his planet, like starting in like small resistance cells, and then like being part of the rebellion, and then like because of this dark and very tragic fight that is very, very harsh towards all the rebels, like sort of becoming this like very cold and just like not very loving
Right.
character.
I want to see the war take its toll on him. I want to see him go from CIS, okay, we don't like the Republic. What are you guys doing trying to take over all these planets? And the Jedi are leading the charge and they're evil and all this stuff, to holy cow, the Empire is now taking over. They're way more extreme than the Republic ever was. They're way more oppressive. And then how does he get into that fight since he was 6 years old? Like, we need to see him start that and then have the battle scars accumulate, have it wear down on him to where we see him in Rogue One. So it's a really interesting story that I think they can nail it if they play their cards right, which I don't know. It's Disney.
It's all up to them. It's all up to them.
Right. And number 4, Andor has to respect that which came before. Don't mess anything up. Don't break canon. Just anything that has to do with established fact of what we know and love, don't mess with it. Just leave it alone. And I think they're in a really good position to do that because Andor is a blank slate. There are very few points as far as what it looks like from the trailers that are going to connect with the original trilogy and the prequels. Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, kind of the Senate in general, are things that we've seen before. But as far as major characters, Anakin Skywalker, Luke, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the things that'll offend people, there's not really a whole lot of obvious opportunities for them to mess it up.
You would
Strike,
think.
what do you think? Yeah, you would think.
Yeah. No, I mean, it goes without saying, obviously, like as a definitely more hardcore fan, I'd like to see them not mess up anything or like respect what came before, and like maybe even like be smart about some stuff, intertwine it in a slightly new way, but like make it sense with how it was originally.
Yep.
Like for instance, with like the old lovers of like the Force Unleashed, which is obviously not canon, but like, you know, with like the way the rebellion sort of started and stuff.
Yep.
No, but it goes without saying, obviously I want to see the OG stuff be respected.
Yeah. I think we're all in the same boat, except for the people that just want to watch the world burn, and they're like, no, just destroy it all. I got my popcorn. I want to see you mess it up, Disney. Go ahead. I dare you. And I to those people, I just say, why do you care so much?
Yeah.
I feel bad for you.
You rock, man.
Charlie, do you think we're going to get to see a live action Hera Syndulla?
That would be pretty wizard, as someone once said.
Or a Chopper. I want to see Chopper.
You know, I would not be surprised.
Out.
Really
Chopper has a massive kill count, right?
He is. He's like a mass kill machine, man.
Can we see some of that, please? I think that'd be awesome. I think that would be totally awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of goes without saying, but don't mess with our Star Wars as far as the established stuff. You can reinterpret stuff and add meaning to stuff, but the stuff that we love, don't touch it. Just don't touch it.
Yeah. But which again, like since it's the same people that worked on Rogue One, I mean, they were like, I think safe to say for all of us, they were very good at respecting the given canon. And like, and I mean, what I always think is like the funniest thing ever is that like both of them are not Star Wars fans. Like both of the like guys that like wrote the script and stuff and directed, like they're not Star Wars fans, but they were just like, they knew George created this awesome universe and wanted to do justice.
As long as you don't break the rules, you can kind of do what you want.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, you can't have him. You can't have Andor or Cassian run in like, who's that girl over there, Jyn Erso? Meh, whatever. Not yet. Or anything like that. Yeah.
This leads us to number 3. It has to take itself seriously. I want this show to take itself seriously. I don't want any jokes are fine. And Rogue One, I think, demonstrated that really well. The very second we're introduced to K2SO, he slams her on the ground. Congratulations, you're being rescued. It's so funny. But it takes itself seriously. The show of Rogue One is very serious. There's not a whole lot in it that kind of make you think like, oh, okay, this is like a joke movie. It's not. It's
smart. It's smart humor though. Like for instance, with Chirrut and
Inway.
Yeah. Like with like him, like the Force like protected me, like I protected you. You know, that's like kind of like playing on the character that doesn't have the Force, the character that has the Force, and like kind of that Han Solo, like nothing beats a good blaster, you know.
Right. But that all fits into their characters, and then if you contrast that with the sequels, I mean, you can think of a dozen examples right off the top of your head of when the characters in it just didn't take the movie seriously.
They fly now.
Yeah.
They fly now. They fly now. Yeah. What do they look like? They look like that. They look like that. Just.
Yeah, I don't think we need to argue on that one.
Yeah.
It's okay that we're here. It's okay that you're here. It's good. Do you remember that?
What's your name? My name is Bond. James Bond. What?
Yeah.
So it just has to take itself seriously. And I'm not saying that there can't be comedy in this show, because obviously that levity, you know, keeps things from getting stale. But it has to be tasteful, and the show as itself has to not go out of its way to be a joke.
As long as it's not like Book of Boba Fett level of like keep your eye open. Oh, sorry, it's an expression. I'm fine. If it's not that, I'm fine.
Like a bantha.
Surprise! Bantha.
Other time.
Yeah.
My dad is so funny.
Who wants to lick the batter?
When you were making those, that was killing me in the chat.
Oh, I was laughing so hard filming that because I just yes, I was just like, all right, just I'm gonna record. You just do your thing, and he just the stuff he was saying.
Oh, it is so good. That's not where it's really good.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to show you something backstage later.
All right, everyone watching, if you guys could do me a favor, if you're enjoying the conversation here, tap like or dislike. Don't smash it, please don't, because you're probably watching on your phone, and I'd hate for you to buy a new phone for yourself just because you wanted to smash the like button. So delicately tap it, and if you're feeling extra generous, share the stream. You can even share it in my own Discord server, but just share it to help the YouTube algorithm, and that would help a lot.
Share it
honestly.
with your grandma. Like, just tell her. Like, to
I
click
dare
on
you.
It, leave it in the kitchen, and just like tell her to done watch some TV. Just leave it, let it play.
Definitely. All right, so it has to take itself seriously. I don't want this to be a joke, and I've said for a while, I think the recipe for disaster in the sequel trilogy was they took the Star Wars name and they thought they had a jackpot, and they took the Marvel storytelling because that's what was hot at the time. Avengers had just came out, all the other Iron Man 3 and everything else, and they're like, oh, this is what people like. And it didn't work for Star Wars.
Nope.
Yeah, it didn't work for Star Wars.
No.
It didn't take itself seriously.
Yeah.
Like Saving Private Ryan takes itself seriously. There's funny parts in it.
Yeah.
There's so many other movies that take themselves seriously and still have comedy, but you don't feel like you're watching one big joke. So, hope this show doesn't do that. I don't think it will. So before we move on to number 2 and number 1, it is time for the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
So
good old Sheev.
This is not a political channel, but I do like commenting on current events. And one event that caught my attention was an address that the current, well, I'll just say the former vice president of the United States made. And something seemed a little bit off, specifically with his eyes.
Capitol Police, the D.C. Metropolitan Police, other law enforcement agencies were attacked and assaulted before our very eyes, speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized, and lives were lost. And for 3 hours, the defeated former president of the United States watched it all happen as he sat in the comfort of the private dining room next to the Oval Office. While he was doing that, brave law enforcement officers were subject to the medieval hell for 3 hours.
Blink, mother.
He didn't blink one time.
Wow.
And that wasn't the only section in that address. It was like he blinked 3 times in 10 minutes. I don't get it. And so this has prompted a lot of theories that this is a deep fake of the former vice president. I don't know if I buy that. Other people are saying that he's just being pumped full of stuff and then sent out on stage to go talk.
Which I wouldn't be surprised either.
I don't know. But this channel, Coffee on Korriban, breaking news right here. I have obtained exclusive footage of actually what's going on in the White House and how Biden has managed to stay alive this long.
$1.9 trillion in relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential.
I killed Snoke. I'll kill you.
I'm going to fight like heck. Think about it. This is about who gets to judge. Don't dismiss it at all. Just remind him, I wrote the bill on the environment. Why would I not be for it? Find workers. Pay them more. I got hairy legs, blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
You'll die first.
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. Speared, sprayed, stomped on, brutalized, dripping in blood, surrounded by carnage. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Let them go bankrupt. Come on.
What could you give me?
Chocolate chip.
So that's how he's still alive. Somehow the vice president returned. I'm sorry.
Boy.
Oh God.
I'm sorry. KG, I'm sorry you had to come in on that, but here's a sip for you. So exclusive from here
so much
first.
that was so funny.
I've had that idea in my head for like 2 weeks. Slapped it together.
Well
Anyway,
done.
Brilliant. Yeah, back to it.
until Biden, yeah, thank you. I'm glad you laughed. Looks like KG didn't just leave after 2 seconds. So anyway, thank you very much.
Yep.
I thought that was funny. I'm glad you guys laughed a little bit. Like I said, this is not a political channel. I'm very political. Personally, I love talking politics. But all
Well,
right,
it can't
we're
be
gonna
great
keep going.
if you actually have some people that are like decent to talk to.
Yes, and I'm all for having discussions, like legitimate, rational discussions, figuring out what we believe, why. I'm all about that. Same analytical thought processes I applied to Star Wars and figuring out all these shows. But we're going to get into the number 2 reason in just a second. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys, are there any things specifically that you guys are looking for from this show? Charlie, you go first.
Ooh. Well, besides all the, outfighting and stuff like that, I mean, I didn't even think about like the chopper and stuff like that thing. So that'll be not loaded with cameos, but I always am fascinated like behind the scenes of stuff of like they in the trailer with what Mon Mothma and Bell are doing. Like, hey, we're trying to do something, and even if we see even that, maybe we could see the opposite. Maybe if they could get Ian for one thing, just like a little thing or something like that.
I feel like there's a high probability for that because no one expected him to pop up in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then the scene that we got of the Emperor right at the end was like, oh, that's cool. He's willing to be in on these shows because that was the first time he had ever been a part of a show and not a movie, right?
Yeah, as far as I remember, yeah.
So it definitely seems like a high probability of that happening, at least for a cameo. And as far as other cameos of characters that aren't necessary for the plot, I think it's cool to check in and see like, oh, that's what this person's doing at this time. Like the he doesn't like you guy from A New Hope popping up in Rogue One. Yeah. It's like, oh, there they are. That's cool to see them. Not all cameos are pointless. Yeah. Not all fan service is pointless either. Fan service can be a really powerful tool. I've said this a lot of times. It just has to be done tastefully. Yeah. And to the right
fan
people.
Service makes sense, then it's not even fan service.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. If the story requires it, it's not fan service. An example of really good fan service would be the most recent "Hello There" we got from Obi-Wan Kenobi, saying it to Luke. It was a great moment because yes, it's fan service, but at the same time, that's his character. Of course, he would say that. And so we, the fans, got a huge kick out of it. Oh, but that is what he would actually say. I love that. I felt so good about that.
I was in tears.
Yeah. All right. So let's get... Actually, Strike, anything that stands out to you that you are wanting to get out of this show?
Yeah, for sure. Meanwhile, my cat just tried to assassinate Obi-Wan Starfighter on my shelf. It was literally about to fall. I just, barely grabbed it.
Have you heard the meme that says there's no way that the Earth can be flat because if it was, the cats would have pushed everything off by now?
For real. That is not a lie. Yeah, there's something else. No, but yes, things that I'm really looking forward to, want to see. So yeah, in terms of Star Wars, I've always been I think more of a blaster guy in terms of love the clone troopers, all this kind of those troopers, obviously Boba, Mandos, and in the show or the trailer so far, seeing the phase 1s in the teaser and now the phase 2s marching through the street, and I'm already guessing that is post Order 66 by the way it looks. And I'm really excited for that part because I remember when we first heard about Andor being a thing, I was like, how cool would it be since Andor's on the Seppi side? If we got the counterpart version to Mando's flashback of the separatists invading his planet, we get sort of in the Geonosian arena, you just get that shot of gunships flying in on the planet and the Republic just invading.
Because it's an occupation. A lot of those planets, it was an occupation by the Republic, and the locals didn't think that was a good thing. So of course they would probably be swayed to join the CIS at that point because it's hey, 20,000 guys that all look the same and have the same armor just arrived on our planet. They're telling us what to do. They're using us as a station to go fight this war that has nothing to do with us. This other planet or group is offering us resources and help, telling us they're going to get rid of these guys. I think I'm going to go with them. So it's just, as I said at the beginning of the show, it's a really cool opportunity that we get to dive into. How did someone that grew up in the Confederacy of Independent Systems feel about the transition into the Empire, and then eventually join the fight with the rebels. Like, it's a really cool idea. There's so much they can do with it. I really hope they don't mess it up. So
Yeah.
leading us into number 2, the second thing that I want to get out of this show, it has to be dark and gritty. And that kind of ties in with what we were saying earlier about it has to take itself seriously. And that doesn't say that there can't be jokes and it can't be funny, but it has to be real and serious. There has to be a gravity to it. Think of the opening shot of one of the opening shots of Rogue One, where Andor is in the street with his informant guy. He gets injured in his arm. He's just weighing him down. He just shoots him dead, just right there.
Yep.
And that has to also tie in with the battle-hardened, scatterbrained war neurosis, whatever the term is, PTSD. Although I don't want to say PTSD because that's a real thing and people deal with that. But I want to see him become calloused. And I want to see the toll that this war is taking on the people that are fighting it. I want to see the losses, just like we saw in Rogue One, where everyone died. And I walked out of the theater saying, wow, Disney, you actually did it. I didn't expect it. So I want this to be dark and gritty and serious. If it is a spy thriller, like a noir spy thriller, I want it to be a little bit on the darker tone, more serious, to give us the impact of the loss of life to these people, these mortals, as opposed to the Jedi, where it takes something spectacular for them to meet their fate. So what do you guys think about that?
Fascinating.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, dark and gritty, definitely. Like, it goes right into things like if we would actually see something like the Republic, like still Republic, invading the planet. Like, if it would be similar to like the Geonosian Arena scene of like it looks up, gunships, but instead of it being in a vibe of like, oh, the saviors, it's the occupants. It's dark. It's like it feels dangerous. Like, I mean, just imagine like sort of like the few scenes we get of Utapau with like clones like literally like jumping on crab droids and blasting them, you know, like that kind of precision, but instead on droids, on rebel or like CIS insurgents, like just people, and like them just getting gunned down because they don't have the training the clones have. Like that
would be amazing to see and horrifying to see, because we've always seen the clones as the good guys. And I felt that way watching the Bad Batch, where now all of the clones are the bad guys and you're hiding from them and they're shooting at you. When they were in the when they first introduced the TK or the T something, like the prototypes, stormtroopers, and they're all running away from the clone troopers. Like these were our friends. These especially watching the Clone Wars, like these are the people we grew up with, and now they're the bad guys. So that will be a really interesting perspective to watch this from. What do you think, Charlie? Also, dark and gritty?
Yeah, man. This would be a brilliant time for as well. I mean, no spoilers. You've seen in the trailer, Saw Gerrera. I mean, he was notorious for, Mon Mothma in Rogue One said he was kind of, a little bit too extremist, and this could be a good display of timing to show that, and how he went from Clone Wars after losing his sister, and then Rebels gives like a little hint of it, where he's going and everything like that. But this could quite possibly show what level he's going to go to quote unquote get justice or take care of what's that, and then go whoa, or maybe I don't know. I've always found that fascinating. And just like the Imperial timeline is. Turns out it's not such a fun time for all the people on the outside. Yeah, that was my 2 cents. Sorry about that.
Just be serious.
Yeah,
give weight to it. I felt like in the sequels there wasn't a lot of weight to things. Even in Solo, it didn't feel like there was a lot of weight to stuff, but there was in Rogue One. And I think if they can tap into what they had in Rogue One, is make this a war film. Make it about war, because I mean, Star Wars, obviously, but the battle between the Rebellion and the Empire, was war.
Yeah.
And I want to see that. And I love one of my favorite things about Rogue One is that it humanized the rebels, and it made you empathize with them to where when we finally do see a Force user, they're so godlike. They're on a totally different plane. There's nothing that the humans can do against Darth Vader at that end hallway scene, which is cool because we get to see Darth Vader just wrecking everyone. But also it makes you realize like
How
these people are
scary that
actually
is. Yeah.
nothing compared to the Jedi and the Sith.
Yeah.
And we got to see the assault, which is very, what was it, like Vietnam? I think that it was reminiscent of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just we got to see actual war fighting, and I really hope we get to see more of that on the ground, armies, clashing instead of just space battles.
And we're definitely going to see rebels die because there are quite a few, and to my happiness, because the Death Troopers are by far my favorite, troopers that like in the Empire, and probably like troopers overall, elite squadron. And like they have like quite a few scenes of like either being bodyguards or actually clearing a room. And I don't know if you remember Rogue One, but they kind of almost killed the entire main cast of Rogue One on their own. Just some troopers, not main characters.
Right. Yeah, I want to see Death Troopers, definitely. Give us a little bit of the structure of both sides too, because as far as most people know, it's just the Rebels and the Empire, and we don't see any hierarchy. And I think we'll get a little bit of that with the lieutenant lady, the blonde lady in the trailer. We'll get to see whatever her rank is, how she relates to everyone else, and the different rankings of the Empire, as well as how the rebellion is oriented, the structure of it. That's all really fascinating to me. And that gets into my number one thing that I am wanting out of this show. Andor must explain a gap in current Star Wars canon. It has to fill in a gap, and there's the opportunity is ripe for it. How did the rebellion form? That's the biggest question that I need answered. But it's got to fill that gap. And along with that, the little gaps of, how did Mon Mothma play into forming this? How did the rebellion start as far as gaining numbers and getting people on board with them? But basically, how did we get from episode 3 to episode 4, or at least to Rogue One? I want that gap explained. And I think I've said a lot of times the most important thing for me in Star Wars over anything else is the world building, more than the characters or the action or even the story. The world building. Let me know about these planets, about these peoples, about these governments. That's the most interesting to me, and I think they have a really good opportunity to capitalize on that with this show.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Completely agree on that.
Are there any other gaps you guys can think of, aside from that main one, that this show could fill?
Look at that little bastard. Look at that little bastard.
I got to hold up.
What did you say? You're sounding like a separatist.
Got me. Damn.
What did you say? You're sounding like a separatist.
All right.
What? Okay.
Nothing but.
Don't make me play the former vice president again.
Oh no. Okay, we'll try.
All right, Charlie. Any gaps you're aware of that you want to be filled as far as like timeline?
Well, I know we kind of seen a little bit of it in Rogue One, like even for a brief minute. Scarif, just the hints of. I mean, obviously, nobody can know too much unless it's like the certain people and everything about like the planet killer and everything like that. But like certain stuff, setting up, Imperial bases and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, just linking up to what we know is going to be coming, A New Hope and Rogue One, of ISB coming in, maybe Tarkin or something like that. Just closing in, and like what happened to Kashyyyk, because that unfortunately Yeah.
Tarkin would be amazing.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters. I was going to say something about Rogue One. I don't even remember
Sorry.
at all.
No, but
Strike,
I think,
say something.
yeah, I'll say something. No, I think they have some great opportunities. Just like really easy stuff they could start their work on, in terms of like you have like someone on the CIS side, in difference to like what we've always seen, like the Republic side. We have like the beginning of like all like sorts of different little like groups that are like sort of rebelling,
Mhm.
and then at some point coming together. I mean, they can do so much. Like they can have so much of those little stories that are similar to like the Ghost Crew, that like started out as their own thing and then found more people and more people and more people. I mean, that's essentially how it went. More and more people had enough, in a
Right.
sense.
Rumor that Andy Serkis was cast. What do you guys think about that? Do you think, if that is true, he's reprising his role as Snoke, or is this someone else? Maybe even actually like him, and not in the motion capture.
Just him.
Just him. I think that I wouldn't get the reference for the other one. It's like I erased it from my mind. Yeah, it's he's a great actor, so I would love to see even just give him like a random cameo, like Star Wars is legendary, or like either a captain or something like that,
Right.
either Imperial.
And I don't see anywhere where Snoke could fit in this time.
Nope.
No.
So if he was cast, just make him, I don't know, a general or someone. Rebel pilot.
Honestly, he's,
Rebel
as Charlie
Pilot
said,
4.
like Andy Serkis is such a talented actor. Even if if it's a creature or just a normal person, like I think he definitely could manage to make it feel like a new character. No problem. So
Cobra says, will we see a partial Death Star like the end of Revenge of the Sith, or almost finished like Return of the Jedi? I'm going to say we're not going to see any Death Star. And the reason why is because the informant at the beginning of Rogue One that got shot by Cassian told him it's a planet killer. They didn't have any information about a Death Star before that. And I don't see any reason why we would need to see Imperials talking about a Death Star, since that was all set up in Rogue One.
yeah, spoiler
I don't
alert, it
think
was
we need to
top
see that.
secret.
Yeah. Stardust. What?
I don't know if you catch the dialogue in A New Hope with Vader and that Imperial officer, but that was not information that was supposed to get to the Imperial Senate. Not at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, no one knew that it was being built. Except for the millions of people that built it.
Yes.
Except for those. But we're not going to talk about that.
And all the Wookiees. What about the enslavement of the Wookiees?
Such a tragedy. I'm glad Black Percent made out.
And another thing that I think an example of what they could capitalize on with filling in gaps is kind of what they did with Rogue One, talking about the Death Star, because a lot of people had complaints before Rogue One came out about the plot hole of how could the Empire build this massive machine capable of destroying planets when it could be blown up just by one rocket in one exhaust port. And we got the explanation in Rogue One that it was designed there on purpose. There was an intentional flaw in the design for the purpose of being exploited by the rebels. It was placed in there. And so that's an example of them taking something and elaborating on it and giving people reason to have it make sense in their mind. And I think there's plenty of opportunities for them to do that with all sorts of stuff in this show. And I'm just really excited for whatever they're going to give us.
Yeah.
So here's a question. Actually, let me read this comment real quick. I hope they show the name of the planet's locations like they did in a Rogue One. Yes, that would be super cool. That would be really cool.
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking of, do you guys remember where Andor shoots the other guy, the informant guy? What planet is that on? I don't remember.
It was like in a city. But I don't remember.
I don't think it was Coruscant. It was oh Lord.
Was it Ord Mantell?
Possibly.
I don't know.
I would really have to.
I would even say it was probably a before unknown planet, maybe even.
Yeah.
Mhm. How about the complete transferal from the clones to the stormtroopers? Yeah, I want to see it. We saw a little bit of that in the Bad Batch, and I really want to see that in live action.
Yeah.
That would be.
But for
awesome.
now, I'm just really happy that we see Phase 2 clones still, and not just like already stormtroopers.
Yep. All right. So here's what I want you guys to do. People
Cool.
watching. We got 8 people watching right now. I want you guys to comment something that you're looking forward to in the show or that you hope that it gives you. Go. Engagement. Let's go.
This is where the viewer interacts with us.
I see. Yes.
This is where the monetization begins.
Yep, and now you play elevator music like. Dun, dun,
Another happy
dun.
landing.
I don't have any elevator music.
Next time.
Right.
It's for the next stream. Oh, that works.
I still haven't decided if I like the background music or not. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Jack Brody says live action Palpatine.
That's a given. We have to at least see that, because if you see the Senate bill, and you can't have the Senate bill without the Senate himself. I mean, I don't know why he would be there. It's like it's a Sith Lord or something.
And maybe something, a little scene, a little cameo with the Emperor, but something that bridges his character between episode 3 and episode 4.
You know what I could see them do? Because in Bad Batch, they use the audio from Revenge of the Sith of Palpatine's speech and just animated it. What if in Andor, there's like Palpatine does some sort of speech, and in Bad Batch Season 2, the trailer, we see Palpatine in the Senate, and that's that scene, but just an animated, like sort of the same way. And it's just Ian McDermott.
That would be awesome. Anything Ian McDermott at this point, like anything.
He didn't have to come back for us, but he did.
Ooh, Palpatine hallway scene.
Oh, yeah.
It would be way necessary and way over the top, but I would love it.
Yeah, somehow if they could find a way to do that, I don't know. The only people that know he's the Sith Lord is besides Lord Vader is, well, you know what? Actually, Bail Organa knows. Maybe a little thing that they think it's a good idea. Let's go do this, and it's like you hear the music and everything. The lights go dim, and you see just the yellow eyes, and that's it.
That would be scary. That'd be terrifying. KG says, "I'm hoping for some epic storytelling." Yep, it's all the pieces are there. That's why I'm really hyped for Andor, is because everything is set up to be epic, and I just can't wait to see how it's going to play out.
Sounds good.
Cobra says the decline of living standards on Coruscant,
and the
and
increase of housing prices.
and that's somewhat in jest, I would imagine, but like legitimately, like how did Coruscant, the city center, the center of the galaxy, essentially, how did that suffer when it went from a mostly functioning republic to the Empire? Like how did that disparity between the elites, the ultra wealthy aristocrats, and the everyday people? We saw a little bit in Clone Wars Season 7, where the Martez sisters were living down in the depths of Coruscant.
Yeah, 500 Republica.
Dexter loses his diner.
Oh, no. Art, man. Don't break
that. Don't tell me that.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan sneaks back to Dexter's diner. There's just a for sale sign on the door.
Yeah, and he's just like, "I got you, Dexter." Hands him a bunch of credits.
just the poor guy still trying to make a living down there and just selling sandwiches and stuff. Meanwhile, he's drawing a sketch of his old buddy Obi-Wan. Troopers come in to eat.
I would love to go to Dexter's diner.
Oh man, I miss him.
If I win the lottery or I inherit a large sum, I'm building a Dexter's diner and turning it into an actual diner.
But you're gonna need like an actual like animatronic Dexter behind the bar. He's just like, "Hey, buddy!"
Yeah. With like animatronic droids everywhere.
Yeah.
Gosh, that would be so cool. Just a gonk droid. I'd pay someone I'd pay a little kid like $1 an hour just to gonk.
Like, here you go, kid. Gonk.
Just stick him in.
You'll be fine. Yeah. Go do your thing.
I'll tell my daughter to do it. All right. Israel says, I want any message that tries to convey to be one that is open to interpretation. Too often these days, writers try to force their message on you, and it's overbearing. This is why I love having you as a subscriber. He always has the best comments. But absolutely, some of my favorite movies are the ones that are open-ended. Inception, Tenet, those are all Christopher Nolan movies, but you get what I'm saying.
Great man, yeah.
Really good movies by him.
But I completely agree with this. It just open to interpretation. Just give us a really good story, and don't force a moral of a story on us. Don't force like a central theme of believe this. This is what the show wants to tell you.
Yeah. Let's return to the simple days of like just like sort of showing what a decent human being is. Like, just keep it simple,
Yep. That boy Steve says, I hope Andor makes Rogue One more sad than it already was. I know it will do that. That's what my very first thing I said about tonight was Andor has to be a compelling character. It'll amplify his role in Rogue One, especially if we see him being that innocent child and transitioning to that battle-hardened soldier. And then we see him in Rogue One. He kind of softens, and then he dies.
Yeah.
More deaths.
Yep. There's gonna. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of deaths in the show.
Kill count.
Yeah.
The odds for the rebels are not very nice right now.
No, we're not.
Yeah. Secret bases of the rebellion. Yes. Yeah. Show us some hideouts, kind of like what we saw in Kenobi with the little safe houses and stuff. That's really cool. I want to see. I'm hoping that the rebellion starts as like an underground network of all these groups that are smaller groups, and then they all find a main reason to join together and form the rebellion.
This will be
really cool.
Dude, you hit the nail on the head. This would be a great time for them to, when either at the very end of something. I don't know anything about this. Like either at the very end or midpoint, we need like a place where we can operate. Them finding Yavin.
Yep, that's what Cobra said. The locations, that would be cool.
And if they want to go completely nuts and use one of the names that was engraved on one of the walls in Kenobi. And I'm speaking of our Force Unleashed General Kota. I mean, he was pretty active in the rebellion in the early stages.
Right. Have we ever seen Dantooine in film? Was Dantooine in the Clone Wars at all?
I think it may have been in the Clone Wars once. I remember it was once mentioned when they were having a council meeting. But other than like live action stuff, Strike help out. I do remember them. Other than Dantooine, they're on Dantooine. You see a little bit. It can be reasonable. Other than that,
you may fire when ready.
What?
Yeah, and then obviously it was in KOTOR.
Yeah.
Which,
that's right.
That place is so peaceful in KOTOR.
Yeah, I think it was only actually portrayed in KOTOR.
Okay. So that would be cool to actually be on Dantooine at some point. Maybe that's where Andor's from.
Possibly teenage Leia. At that point.
Yeah.
Well, wait, when does Andor play? Oh yeah, no, they could
September.
Yeah, could be.
Cool.
All right. So what is the release date for Andor? Do we know?
No, we do know. I think it's at the end of the last trailer. And it's a free episode release or free episode premiere.
That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'll be nice.
I hope it doesn't have the reasoning of they don't believe the first two episodes.
Trust us, guys. Just get into it a couple episodes. It's all right.
Yeah, it's my only concern about that whole thing. I hope it's literally just them being you need to wait longer.
Do we have an episode count?
Wasn't it 12? I don't want to lie here.
They've already
sounds a lot nicer than 6.
It was definitely more than Mandalorian with 8 and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
they've already been greenlighted for another one
season
as well.
2. No, I think in entirety it's 24, so I think it's 12. But don't quote me on that. I'm just thinking That's what I remember.
I do remember.
Awesome. Well, bottom line, to just wrap it up, I hope it takes itself seriously. I hope Cassian Andor is a great character, and I really hope it's not just an episodic show about Andor going on a couple adventures and having a couple little skirmishes. I want it to be epic, and I want it to be able to be edited into like a single movie and play out like a movie. After it's all said and done, obviously I have to elaborate on things and stretch things out to make it into a show. But I'd love to see it in movie form. Speaking of which, Deep Dive, hopefully you guys are subscribed to him. He re-edited Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, into a 2.5-hour movie. I still have to check it out. I'm going to be doing a review on it and then having him on to talk about his edit and why he made the changes that he did. So be on the lookout for that. And I really wish I could get more content out there these days, but I just pulled a 95-hour work week last week.
Damn. Yeah.
22 hours just Saturday and Sunday by themselves. So it's been I've been doing a lot. I don't get home till like 10:30, 11 at night. So pretty much just time to take a nap and get back in the work van.
You're a good man.
But I appreciate everyone for stopping by tonight. Appreciate both of you guys for coming on and talking to Andor. It's always a fun experience.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. If you've been here since the beginning, I really appreciate your time. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.